What's going on, everybody? Justin here. Thank you for stopping by today. I am so excited to talk about this brand new second sight release, 4K release of It Follows. We're going to dive into all the details of this particular release, and we're going to talk about the movie a little bit. In my opinion, It Follows is one of the most original and groundbreaking horror films of the last 10 to 15 years. Originality, camera work, score, everything came together so perfectly to really craft a modern masterpiece. The story centers around Jay, played by Micah Monroe, who's recently had a sexual encounter, and unbeknownst to her, this sexual encounter transferred basically a sexually transmitted demon. If you have sex with the infected person, an entity will follow you and will kill you until you pass this along. So you have this evil entity following you. You can either choose to be killed by this entity, which then goes back down the line and kills the person who infected you and the person who infected them, and you're basically doomed to be followed by this curse and ultimately killed unless you have sex with somebody else and pass this demon curse on. I had never really seen anything like it at the time, and still to this day, I think a lot of films have been influenced by It Follows. A really original and creative story, and even to add more to the story is this amazing score by Disaster Piece, this great cinematography, really simplistic dialogue. There's nothing in this movie that really dates it as far as technology or pop cultural references. Everything feels very real and grounded, which only adds to the suspense of this film. This movie builds suspense with very simple but intricate camera work, these 360 shots and wide angles and push zooms, all of this really these cool aspects that add to the isolation and the suspense of being followed. Something's always following you. After watching it again, this movie has a lot of Halloween in it. I felt like this has a lot of Halloween influence, as well as the Terminator. I kept on getting Terminator vibes from this because this entity that follows you after this demon has been cursed to you, it does not stop. It has no pity for you. It feels no fear, and it will not stop until you are dead. I can't recommend this movie enough. It's truly original, and to complement how amazing this movie is this incredible release from Second Sight that is packed full of goodies, an amazing 4K restoration, commentaries, interviews. It's a packed release. Let's go ahead and dive into this release now. First of all, this 4K master looks absolutely incredible. Dolby Vision, HDR. I didn't have to really do any adjustments as far as the picture for this. Everything is super crispy and clear and detailed. There's a ton of night shots. This movie has a lot of shots that happen at dusk or completely at night. Nothing is washed out. I have a pretty bright setting on my TV. I like things to be pretty saturated with a good contrast. So I bumped down the contrast. For this, I did bump down the contrast for my personal preference, but I found nothing to be washed out. The black levels are beautiful. And it just looks incredible. The only thing that I could say about the transfer is that in some of these night shots, some of the skin tones look a little smooth. I don't know if they were using any sort of DNR or digital smoothing. I noticed a slight bit of digital smoothing, but that could just be due to the atmosphere and the lighting in this. It didn't feel unrealistic, but that's the only time I felt like there may have been a little digital correction. But as far as the 4K transfer, it looks absolutely beautiful. The outside, especially these fall shots of people walking through the neighborhoods and their houses and going through dried leaves. It looks so vivid and crisp and clear. Beautiful picture. The 4K restoration is amazing, as is this new Dolby Atmos track that booms when it needs to. The dialogue feels very crisp. This score is it's booming and it's industrial and it's sort of distorted, and it all sounds really well balanced and really fantastic. As far as the special features, we have a new commentary with professor and writer Josh Grimm. He wrote a book dissecting It Follows. This is probably my favorite commentary track. There's two commentary tracks on this one, and this one really dives into the theory, the filmmaking. This guy studied this film and the production of the film to write his book. So in lieu of a director or actor's commentary, which I generally prefer, this is pretty good. He's a very well-researched and very well-read guy when it pertains to It Follows, so I found it to be very informative. The film also sports a commentary by film critic Danny Lay, and he's accompanied in this commentary by cultural historian and director of film studies at the University of Nottingham. His name is Mark Jankovic. This one feels more like a critical commentary. Like I said, I prefer my commentaries to be either people who were directly involved with the film rather than opinion pieces. on commentaries, but this commentary is okay too. We also get actor interviews with Keir Gilchrist, Olivia Lucardi, talking about their experiences of getting the script and kind of understanding what the movie was. It's interesting when you hear these people talk about the script. They didn't really get it because this movie is so abstract and different, and they realized as soon as they actually saw the completed film how incredible it was and how happy they were to be a part of the film. Great actor interviews included. There's also an interview with producer David Kaplan talking about the struggles of getting this movie off the ground, working within their budgets and trying to take all these shortcuts and trying to figure out how to make the best movie they can with the limited budget, including a little insight into the alternate ending that they weren't able to do due to budget. But it's a super informative interview with the producer. Producer interviews are always pretty cool because they're usually behind the money and they talk about the struggles of trying to get the director's vision to the screen while also dealing with the means of actually paying for everything. So really informative interview with producer David Kaplan. And one of my favorite special features in here is actually the interview with the soundtrack composer Rick Vreeland, aka Disasterpiece. Really in-depth interview of how he came up with the sound design, the soundscapes, and all of the cues and everything to do with this incredible score. He goes on to say that he's never really worked in horror before. He had never heard a John Carpenter score, which is surprising because this movie actually has a theme. It's this very digital, industrial, kind of booming and cracking, distorted soundscape with an actual iconic theme, especially at the beginning. Talks about how he created a couple themes for individual characters and kind of experimenting with this theme, and I thought he did a fantastic job. I couldn't believe that he had never done a horror score before, but it's just instantly iconic, this whole score. Great interview with composer Rick Vreeland. There's also an interview with production designer Michael Perry and a video essay, Architecture of Loneliness by Joseph Wallace, which was also pretty interesting. Also included in this release is this monster of a hardback book, which is just packed with essays and insights into the making of the film. This is one of the bigger books that comes with one of these second sight releases. This is a really chunky release. And also you get the art cards as well, which are included in a lot of these releases. And you get the sort of media book, digipack book with the 4K and the Blu-ray disc. So overall, fantastic release. Second Sight, in my eyes, can do no wrong, except when they release these collector's editions without new transfers. I'm talking about You Frontiers and a couple of these other ones that have come out last year. But all in all, fantastic release from It Follows. Let me know what you think of the movie and this release from Second Sight. If you enjoy this kind of content, do subscribe, like, and comment down below, guys. And I think we're done here, guys. Stay weird. Remember to always be yourself, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.